Hello, really nice to see you. We often see customers have many innovative ideas, and that's fantastic. But we see some struggle to get stakeholder buy-in, alignment, and really know which of these ideas to focus on and take forward. At the same time, we also see other customers that have taken many of these innovative ideas into hackathons, whiteboard session, prototypes. But then again, afterwards, these sit there idle, collecting cost and dust, because again, they struggle to get stakeholder buy-in. So today, we want to take you through a couple of AWS innovation mechanisms that can help you drive efficiency, build sustainable solutions, and really overall de-risk innovation. And we really want to do this through the experience of an actual customer that is on an innovation journey, which is Kone. And it's today represented by Juha-Matti Kuusinen, who's the head of digital innovation.
Hello, everyone. Great to be here.
I'm Irina Radu. I'm a prototyping engagement manager at AWS. And my coworker, Jason Mortensen, is the worldwide lead for working backwards engagements.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, everyone. Thanks for coming today.
So in Amazonian style, we like to always start with the end customer pain point and work backwards from that. So that's exactly what we're going to do in this presentation today as well. So Juha-Matti, what is the end customer challenge that Kone has taken on?
So imagine a crowded metro station in a big city like London. And as a commuter, you're stuck on the platform in a long queue because one of the escalators is broken. As a result, you will be late from an important appointment, for example, from an interview to your dream job. Or as a parent, you're struggling to push the stroller through the crowd because people with special needs are not taken into account. You start to feel stressed and annoyed by the people bumping into you and by the noise. So these are just a couple of the unpleasant scenarios that can happen in a crowded metro station. So let's start with looking at what we at Kone do to tackle these kind of challenges. And although Adam did mention Kone this morning in his keynote, I think it's probably good I provide some more details of what we do and who we are. So Kone is a global leader in the elevator and escalator industry. So in practice, we manufacture and maintain elevators and escalators. These are pretty unique industrial assets, but they're also pretty familiar to us all as we use them almost daily. For example, in this conference. We just may not pay a lot of attention to them as long as everything works. To describe the scale of our operations, we have 1.6 million units in our service portfolio globally, and 30,000 technicians who maintain these units by performing 70,000 customer visits every day. But most importantly, we move 1 billion people every day. This equals to moving approximately the global population within a week. So we have an important role in making working and living in cities enjoyable and sustainable. And it's easy to understand that any significant disruption to our operations would have a major impact on the flow of urban life. Now, however, simply keeping the equipment up and running is not enough to provide enjoyable and sustainable people flow experiences. And with people flow, I mean the way people move in and between buildings. So why it's not enough? Sometimes people complain, for example, about long elevator waiting times or long elevator travel times, even if there's nothing wrong with the equipment. And here we are talking about people flow challenges. Now, talking about challenges, for any innovation to take place, it's important or even mandatory to understand your customer challenges and needs. It then enables you to define a vision that will guide you in the long term to the right direction set relevant project objectives, and eventually develop products that your customers will love. And we have also learned a great deal about our customers' challenges and needs when it comes to people flow. And let me share with you some examples. So in the area of adaptability and situational awareness, our customers face challenges in understanding changes in user behavior and needs, or simply understanding changes in building population or purpose. And the COVID has been a good example of a situation where some buildings have started to serve a new purpose because of changes in user behavior. Now, in the area of designing and managing people flow, our customers face challenges in understanding how to prevent people flow issues or how to optimize people flow. For example, to change floor plans so that the movement inside the building is easier. In the area related to data and how to create insights from that, our customers have said that they don't even understand what good people flow means, what kind of insights they would need to make improvements. And they may not have relevant or reliable data to create those insights. And finally, the tools and support area, our customers have said that they have too many tools in use, the tools are too complex to use, and there's no support or system integration available. These challenges then translate into needs, such as wanting help in collecting and understanding buildings' people flow data, wanting a holistic yet concise and real-time overview of what's happening in the building, and being able to make informed decisions about the future. So we at KONE have also developed solutions to optimize people flow inside buildings. And one of the solutions is, Is the video playing? Don't mind about that. Okay, but one of the solutions is people flow simulation. With simulation, we see the building design come to life, which helps us and our customers to understand what the actual people flow experience would look or even feel like, even if the building drawings exist only on paper. And the other area of solutions that we use falls under the topic of people flow analytics, which we use to understand people flow in buildings and make informed decisions to enhance the building value and performance, and to drive new value to tenants over the building life cycle. Okay, now the videos are working, so take a moment to look at what we are talking about. Okay, our vision for people flow optimization can be formulated as cognitive people flow, which in practice means an automated way of using people flow data and digital solutions like sensing, monitoring, and simulation to analyze the flow of people and make adjustments automatically to ensure that everyone gets to their destination safely and conveniently. And on the screen you can see some examples of what cognitive people flow could mean in practice. Now, cognitive people flow supports social sustainability. While it's clear that we need to decarbonize our buildings and make them energy efficient to save our planet, we need to remember that buildings are built for people. If we do not pay enough attention to safety and well-being, we may end up with stressed, unhappy, or even angry people and employees, and in an increasing number of societal challenges. Now, well-being is driven by social activity. And to be socially active, people need to move around to meet each other. This means that we need to build urban infrastructure that supports safe and convenient moving in and between buildings. Okay, let's get back to our innovation journey now that we had a vision, but we have still three major challenges. Those were where to focus, how to build trust with our stakeholders, and how to get started in the first place to understand if we can achieve our vision. So let's look at how we got started through experimentation, an important part of innovation, to understand can it be done, can we achieve our vision. Luckily, we got together with AWS, as innovation is in the DNA in both companies. So the direction from the management was pretty clear. Get things done, deliver co-innovation outcomes. And we took an important technological step toward the vision when AWS introduced the IoT Twin Maker at re:Invent in 2021. And this was important for us because we knew that some kind of a digital twin for people flow would be needed to achieve our vision. So after some brainstorming with our AWS account team, we decided to start experimenting with the Twin Maker to create the first version of the digital twin for people flow. So in the first experiment, we created the digital twin of our headquarters in Espoo, Finland. And the use case here was to monitor in real time the movement of the elevators and also the passenger service level in the building based on the waiting time metric. And we got pretty excited what we could do with the Twin Maker and decided to extend the experiment so that we connected a service robot to the twin to monitor its movement in real time in the building in the twin based on the robot's telemetry data and also on real-time video stream from the elevators. Now, seeing is believing, and seeing the experiments got the management and stakeholders in both companies very excited. So, through the experiments, we were able to build trust with our stakeholders. But we still had one big challenge. Where to focus? Or what kind of a digital twin for people flow product we would want to build? And to shed light on this, we decided to apply the AWS working backwards method, of which Jason will now tell us more about.
Thanks, Juha-Matti. Appreciate it. So I'll give a little overview of the working backwards mechanism. You might have saw it today in Adam's keynote, mentioned as AWS's and Amazon's key innovation mechanism, the key process that we follow to develop all the technologies and services and features that you see here at re:Invent and see throughout the year coming from Amazon and AWS. So how do I know I'm focusing on the right thing, as Juha-Matti noted? How do I know I'm building the right thing for my customers, something that's going to resonate with my customers, something that's going to want, they're going to want, that's going to solve their needs, their challenges? And when we look at that, we look at innovation starting with the customer and working backwards from that, hence the name working backwards. Now, I'll say it's Amazon's way of innovation. There's many ways to innovate, right? One can be a fast follower. One can innovate based off of a market trend, right? One can take a build it and they will come approach, right? And all those are great. I like working backwards. But I would argue that there isn't a bad way to innovate. The only bad way to innovate is not to innovate. But whatever mechanism you use, again, as long as it's fostering that innovation is fantastic. But we think the best way is taking a deep dive approach into the customer's needs, into their challenges, not starting with a solution in mind, really starting with deeply understanding that customer, and then working back into the solution that would actually solve that. Touching base on the process and the mechanism here a little bit, it's 5 stages. The first stage is what I just noted, listening to the customer. Do I truly understand what their needs and wants are? Do I have a broad set of data points? That set of data points could be interviews, right? It could be analysis of trouble tickets or product feature requests or other market data. But do I have a broad set of data points? Do I truly understand what that customer needs? And a broad set of customers, not a particular demographic or a particular person or a customer in a particular company, right? But truly a broad set. Then focusing on once I understand my customers, then I can define their problem. What is their pain point, right? What challenge are they facing? What can I solve for them? Then after I define the problem, how do I fix it, right? What's the solution that's actually going to address that? And then how do I outline that solution? How do I define that? How do I articulate and get buy-in from my stakeholders as to what we want to do? And that's in that 4th step in refine. And then I get my buy-in, I get my alignment. We have a joint agreement in our company and through all of our stakeholders that we want to move forward. Now, I actually put my proverbial hands-on keyboard, right? Now I start to actually build something and build the prototypes, get feedback on those prototypes, take that feedback back, iterate on them, and eventually bring that into a production solution and launch that out. Now, across working backwards, we wrestle, we align with these 5 questions that you see here. These 5 questions also correspond to the stages. As many beautiful innovation mechanisms or beautiful processes, questions are deceptively simple, right? It looks like I could answer these in 5 minutes, right? And I could, maybe not well, but I could do it in 5 minutes, right? But I'm more likely going to spend 5 hours if I really need to dive deep into my customers where I don't have good data. As an example, I don't have that broad viewpoint of what their needs are. I could spend 5 days. I could spend 5 weeks wrestling with these and making sure I truly understand and have good responses to each one of those questions. Now, I talked a little bit in the refine stage that we define the problem, that we articulate it out. A unique Amazonian component that we use to articulate that out and to document what that future solution is going to be is a written document. A written document in the form of a press release, that's 1 page. Some frequently asked questions, that's many pages, could be 2, could be 20. And then accompanying some visuals as well to help round that out. Now, the press release is a press release, right? If I look at the contents, and there's other sessions here at reInvent that dive deep into the content of the press release itself. But if I look at it, it looks like a press release, right? There's a header, there's a date on it, there's a paragraph that describes what I'm releasing, there's a sample customer quote, probably fictitious at this point, there's a sample stakeholder quote that discuss the value that's going to deliver to them and the value that we're delivering to our customer. The only key difference here is that some date in the future. It might be 12 months out, right? So in July 2024, which isn't 12 months on, you do the math, but work with me, we release this product, right? Now, the advantage of the press release, there's a couple of them, but just hitting on one here is it forces us and forces the customers that we work with to put it in customer-centric terms, right? I outline the value of the press release as if a customer is going to read it, right? As a real press release would be, right? And when customers read press releases, if you're a customer and read a press release, what do you want to know, right? You want to know what value it gives to you, right? What is this going to do for me? How is this going to solve my problems? How much is it going to cost? Where do I download this thing? Who do I contact to buy it, right? What customers don't care about is the value is going to give to your organization, right? We're excited to release our next $10 million product. Well, I'm sure you are. I'd be excited as well, right? But as a customer, I don't care about that, right? I care about the value it's going to deliver to me. So the press release forces us to make sure that value to that customer is clear and articulate. Then we have FAQs. FAQs are two parts. One's customer FAQs. What do we think customers are going to ask, right? How much is this going to cost? Why is this better than my previous version? Is this data secure, right? How do I engage, right? Who do I contact? All of these questions that really, again, we expect customers will ask and helps us frame in the solution when we actually develop it. And then the second set are stakeholder FAQs. What do we expect our internal stakeholders to ask? Who's going to develop this? How much is it going to cost to develop, right? Does this align with our corporate strategy around X, right? One of my favorite FAQs that we use internally, very thought-provoking question. What will customers not like about the first version of this product? It makes me see around corners. Maybe I might want what I might want to develop next, or what I might want to develop now because that dislike is going to be so large. And then again, the visuals that help round that out. Visuals can take many forms. Irene is going to discuss them a little bit later, but the axiom that we use there is the fidelity of the visuals should match the maturity of the idea, right? So at the very early idea stage, a visual might be a picture of a drawing I put on a whiteboard, and that's perfectly awesome, right? In later stages, it might be a mock-up of a UI or interface, right? But I shouldn't have that very fine fidelity mock-up of the interface when my idea isn't really mature yet. But we don't write that document just to write the document. We write it to get feedback, as Yuamati noted, to get alignment in between stakeholders. So I'm going to take that PR, and I'm going to take it to several people. I'm going to say, hey, what do you think about this? And people are going to give me feedback. Hey, this section isn't clear. I really like this idea, right? You could use some more details here. I have these questions that you missed in the FAQ that I think are important, right? And help me quickly and very, very iteratively refine that idea and refine what that future solution is going to be, and help get that broad set of viewpoints too to help me see around corners or blind spots that I have that others are going to address for me. And then eventually I'm going to take that to stakeholders as we did here at Kone. And then stakeholders are going to get that alignment around those internal stakeholders that I need, and then eventually, hopefully, approve the idea to go forward and actually do development. Or sometimes, actually, when we look at internally, often we don't see a complete no. We just say it's not the right time, right? We might not have the resources for it, might not, just the market isn't in the right spot yet, or we don't think this would solve the best customer challenge yet. But no, but not now, right? Or a yes, and as with Kone, we had a yes in our future solution. So, Yuamati, we talked about the 5 questions. Let's bring it back to the Kone solution. So when we looked at these 5 questions and working with you, when we look at that first one, who did you define as your customer to solve a challenge for?
Yeah. So in our case, the customers are operators for crowded metro stations. And what I can tell about them is that they have an important role in keeping our cities functioning, as metro systems are the backbone of public transportation in many large cities.
Yeah, and what I love about that when we think through the questions is very specific, right? Operators of crowded metro stations, right? There's many of them, but it's a very, very specific persona that I'm solving a challenge for. So what was their problem or opportunity if we look at question 2 there?
Well, many metro stations tend to get extremely crowded, as we saw, especially during peak hours and especially during, in case of an anomaly of, for example, a bad weather or an event occurring around the station or equipment malfunction. And the resulting people flow bottlenecks cause inconveniences for the passengers, like missed schedules or even safety risks.
Yeah. And of course, those inconveniences aren't due to any third-party factors, right? It's not a match just let out and everybody's going to a certain area, right? It's all the operator's fault that all these other external events happen. So then we looked at the solution, we look at the invent phase there. What was the solution and what was the most important customer benefit out of that?
So by understanding the real-time traffic situation in their stations and also having the usage trends of how the stations are used, the operators can optimize people flow within their stations or give advanced notifications or define mitigation measures on potential issues.
Wonderful. And then at stage 4, we articulated that future solution in a press release and FAQ. And then we got to actually build it, right? We don't solve customer problems by writing a document. That's a great first step, right? But we actually solve it by actually building something. So when we looked at how to build or answer that 5th question, how to test the solution with customers, in essence, how to build it and prototype, Irina, guide us through how we did that with Kone.
Yep. So as you can see by now, Kone had a really solid hypothesis and internal alignment. And the PRFAQ made them very efficient with the time of their stakeholders, and ultimately they're trying to make public transportation the preferred transportation mode. Thank you for that. So we definitely agreed it was time to build, but I think all of us in this room today can agree that innovation usually requires a lot of experimentation. And it just so happens that it's usually in an area where you have less internal skills available or knowledge. And so you're always looking for ways to de-risk that innovation, to be efficient with your resources as well. So the working backwards process that you just seen does very much de-risk innovation, because you're going to do like Kone, you're going to take that PRFAQ and you're going to do a readout with actual customers, and you're going to incorporate that feedback into your solution. So they might tell you, this is a horrible idea, don't do it, or they might actually tweak it with you, and together you make a better solution. But there's further ways to de-risk innovation, and one of them, exactly like Kone started, is to encourage those experiments. Whether they're prototypes, pilots, hackathons, whiteboard sessions, whatever your team is using for a mechanism, encourage those experiments. But then, don't let them sit there idle. Again, go through this process and then kill your darlings, shut down the unsuccessful experiments, take those learnings into the, narrowing the solution further, and then proceed towards an MVP and eventually production with that one. And so Kone was at the point where they decided to do a prototype, and the account team, the AWS account team, really wanted to support them accelerate this innovation journey. So they engaged an AWS investment called PACE. It stands for Prototyping and Cloud Engineering. I'm part of that team. Sorry about that, I hit my mic. We empower customers to think bigger. We are a bunch of builders, and we make a team with the customers' builders, and we co-develop the ideas to life. And the PRFAQ here was really gold for us, because we got to be efficiently onboarded. It went really fast. It was very clear from the get-go that Kone is looking for a look and feel of the solution for the people flow optimization solution in order to actually run pilots and test it with real metro station operators. Then they wanted a foundation for a scalable solution and sustainability from the get-go. In terms of scalability, they wanted a solution that not only can do public station or public transportation stations, they wanted a solution that can be then expanded to other kind of buildings, like commercial spaces. And they wanted actually a solution that eventually the end customers will be able to onboard their own space and sensors, and then the system automatically sets the digital twin and sets even the creation of the dashboards by itself. And from the sustainability point of view, this was very clear from us from the beginning that Kone is very much focused on not only is this a sustainable solution, but they wanted the infrastructure and they wanted the tech solution in itself to think about sustainability aspects. Then they were after empowering their builders with best practices and knowledge sharing and really co-explore the technological alternatives that they had in a structured way so that they can compare and get clarity on costs and risks. So we, my team and Kone's builders, we made a team together. And one other thing that was very clear from the PRFAQ was that the rich customer experience that Kone thought through was way larger than what you can build in one prototype, regardless of how much coffee was available to us at that point in time. So we really needed to agree on the scope. And again, the PRFAQ was very good because we broke that down into features, which we wrote as user stories into a backlog. And then we did the important dance of prioritizing. I am sure you've been in a couple of those tough conversations on which of these features should we actually be, which of these are a must-have and which of these are something that we can do later. But again, the PRFAQ is really good here because it keeps everybody focused on what's important, which is bringing end customer business value and actually solving their problem. We took that feature list, we categorized these features into must-have, should-have, won't-have, and maybe baby. And then we selected these for the very first prototype. So in a short sentence, it was about connecting some of Kone's equipment to the cloud. It was about using the people flow simulator that you've seen earlier that Kone already had, and then run insights on these and put it in a 3D web app that then Kone can run pilots with the actual metro station operators. Then, another way of de-risking innovation and being efficient with your time and resources, in this case, particularly the tech people, you take that press release and the visuals, and then you actually build a clickable solution or clickable wireframes that you can then interview the real operators, like Kone did actually. We've interviewed several people, and you get to see how is their customer experience? How do they work through this flow? Is this accessible? Is this solution inclusive? Do they even understand how to work with it? And you incorporate all those learnings into what you're actually going to build. The beauty of this is that you do not even need the tech people at this stage. You can do this with your usability experts. So, then we got building, the fun part, for me at least. This is the architecture of what we actually built during the prototype. Since then, this has evolved because Kone is continuously adding features on, and they're continuously interviewing their end users and adding that into the solution. But this is what we, of all the experiments that we ran, this is what we concluded on. We did terminate all the other parallel experiments that we've done so they don't sit there idle, which is one of the sustainability tips. So you're going to notice a lot of managed services here and a serverless design. And this was done on purpose. On one hand, it was done on purpose because we really wanted Kone to focus on actual business value and leave the heavy lifting to the cloud, but also because sustainability was a big aspect. So if you have a look for inspiration at the sustainability pillar in the AWS well-architected framework, you're going to see, for example, a recommendation to use managed services and serverless design, because nothing really in this architecture sits there idle without a proper function. And managed services also help maximize the resources utilization and reduces the amount of infrastructure needed to run them. And then, as you saw in the keynote this morning, it also now relies on things like Graviton4. So it takes a lot of the thinking that you have to do when you think sustainability and does it for you. Then there's also the customer carbon footprint tool that you can use to set sustainability goals and follow them and see what's your footprint, which I highly recommend. But in essence, what we actually built from left to right, we've connected some of KONE's elevators and escalators to the cloud using AWS IoT Core. Think things like the status of the doors and which floor the elevator is on, and if there's any error codes and things like that. Then we have mixed this data with the people flow simulator that KONE had, and we put this together in a coherent data piece. And we were very thoughtful about this piece because KONE doesn't want to just show the elevator status, right? They want to actually run analytics and provide you with insights. They want to run machine learning and predict hotspots where people are going to get crowded. And then they want the system to actually allow GenAI to set up dashboards for you. So we were very specific and very thoughtful with how we actually structured that data, which for GenAI and machine learning is a very important piece. Then we built a 3D purpose app for the actual metro station operators. And for KONE's internal builders to monitor the solution, we used an Amazon Managed Grafana. We created a 3D model of the actual metro station as well. This is a real metro station in Helsinki. We used Amazon TwinMaker to create the twin of this. And then we wrapped it all up in infrastructure as a code at the end. So then KONE can even shut this environment down and then deploy it when they need and in which environment they actually need. But as Juha Mati always tells me, seeing is believing. And so Juhis, how do we actually end this?
Well, we ended, it was a happy ending, let's say. And thank you for your collaboration. But what you will see here is actually a real-time monitoring application. And you can think of, for example, supply line monitoring application to track and manage the movement of materials and goods through the supply line. But in our case, we are monitoring people flow in a metro station. So after logging into the system, you see the metro line. In this case, this is the Helsinki metro line and with its stations. And the solution also notifies you where your attention is needed. So let's go into one of the stations to see what the notification is about. So when you go in, the digital twin of the station is loaded, and you can see real-time people flow. And in the prototyping engagement and project, we figured in also nice features like freeform navigation in the 3D view or this predefined view to look at the people flow from different perspectives in a fast way. Now the notification or alert in this case is about equipment malfunction at elevator number 1. And as an operator in the metro control room, I can now instruct the service team to install an info sign to let people know about the issue and also to redirect the traffic to avoid congestion and potential safety risks. And we are actually right now piloting this in the Nordics with the first customer in a real environment, in a real metro station. So our stakeholders in this project have been very supportive along the journey, and I would say that their involvement and commitment have been key in bringing the first prototype of the solution outlined in the peer FAQ to life. And with our stakeholders' trust, we were kind of in the development team empowered to take the best out of our skills and technology. As Irina also mentioned, we did not only build one application, we laid the foundation for a scalable and repeatable solution that can be easily extended to other segments and use cases. Not to mention adding new features and functionalities like generative AI, for example, for timely and relevant people flow insights. This project also helped us to understand what it takes to build such a solution taking into account operational aspects like running the solution in the cloud at minimum cost. And now talking about efficiency, I would say that applying the methods that we described today really help us to avoid wasting time, as we were able to focus on problems that are worth of solving and to provide real customer value.
Awesome. Matti, when I was coming back from dinner last night, the elevator door wouldn't close. So I think I had an equipment malfunction in elevator 1, not a Kone elevator, I'm happy to report. Yeah, so monitoring was needed there. So now it's your turn. What are my next steps? What are my calls to action? We encourage you, again, I mentioned there's many ways to innovate, but I think taking a customer-centric approach, a customer-centric mindset to innovation truly helps you make sure that, again, you're building the right thing, however you want to define right, but you're building the right thing for customers, something that's going to resonate with your customers and then give value to your business as well. Adopt a culture of innovation as Kone has, right? Focusing on rapid experimentation, learning from failures, taking those learnings and putting those into the next version, right? And being comfortable with that pace of innovation and just innovation in general. And then get support. AWS is here to help. Irina mentioned the PACE team. I'm from the Innovation and Transformation Programs team. You have your account manager, you have your solution architects, you may have a TSM, you have all that great AWS staff to help you out along your journey. And then lastly, he's with the double thumbs up there, as he always does. Make sure you have fun along the journey. And along your reInvent journey, a couple other innovation sessions you may be interested in coming up here on Wednesday and Thursday. Or if you pick up these slides in the app or watching the recordings later, some other sessions, on Monday and Tuesday that are in the past as we stand here today, but available on demand later. And then if you're interested in diving deeper as well, the QR code on your left will request a meeting with my team, or if you want a meeting with any of those people that I mentioned, you can use that QR code too, and just put it in the notes and we'll get you connected up to the right person. And then if you're interested in learning more about working backwards, more about some of our core culture and innovation mechanisms, that's what that QR code on the right will do for you. And on behalf of Juha Matti, on behalf of Irina and myself, again, thank you so much for your attendance today. We are customer obsessed in many, many ways, or in all ways, I should say. And as you've heard from probably every presenter you've been in today, be sure to fill out the survey. We really, really appreciate your feedback. And what we'd appreciate even more is come talk to us after the session. We'd love to meet you and love to talk to you and dive deep into anything that we discussed today. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a great portion of your reInvent.
Thank you.
Thank you.